Hello everyone, this is the Quizzomaniacs 2.0, the year-end quiz fest 2021, presented by Jigyasa Quiz Club, the official quiz club of APS Danapur Cant. On behalf of the Jigyasa Quiz Club, I welcome all of you to this quiz. We received a very great response from all of you in terms of participation and registration, and we are honored to accept that. Now, let's start the quiz, and all the best to everyone. Before beginning the quiz, we would like to give the credits to those who deserve. The quiz is organized by Jigyasa Quiz Club. The quiz coordinator for the quiz is Dr. C.B. Pandey. Research and execution work is done by Vishnu Upadhyay and Anshul Kumar. I would also like to thank Dil, Shwetank, and Kisle for their technical support. Now, let's jump on to the rules, as in the quiz outline. The quiz has 25 questions scattered across various topics of general interest. Questions 16 to 20 carry 2 marks each, being starred. All the questions need to be answered in the Google form link provided earlier, that was sent to you on the 29th of December via a document. Start question shall play a decisive role in declaring winners in case of tie. That is a basic rule in any quiz. As soon as the quiz ends, a window of 10 to 15 minutes shall be provided to answer the questions in the link. Top 8 participants shall receive appreciation certificates. All participants shall receive participation certificates. So it is essential for you to submit your response in the today's Google form, else you will not receive the participation certificate. We have a demo question to begin with. Which recently released movie has this as their poster? The poster depicts a green pill and a red pill. Sorry, a blue pill and a red pill. Without any delay, we will jump into the answer. Yes, it's the Matrix Resurrections, the recently released fourth installment in the Matrix quadrilogy. The film is in itself a story of science fiction, and it is loved by many people, including me. So, without delay, now we will jump into the quiz. The quiz begins now. Gear up your arsenal. I would request to all of you to inhibit yourselves from using any kind of search engines or any external devices so that the quiz remains fair and there is a equal level playing field for everyone out there. Let's begin with the question number 1. From 2014 to 2019, the list has an astounding 96 countries, the last one in November 2019, with Brazil being the location. Thanks to the events of 2020, there was no chance of adding further to the list. However, this number increased to 113 in this 2021 till December. What are we talking about? So basically, in this question, we are demanding a list, the name of a list. This list had 96 countries between the timeline of 2014 to 2019, and Brazil was the last one, which was covered in November. But due to the global pandemic of 2020, there was no addition in this list. However, this number increased to 113 by December 2021. The question is fairly simple. What is the subject of this list, or what is this list we are talking about? For hints, you may have to pay attention on the years 2014, 2019, and especially on the term Brazil being the location of the last one in the November month. Now, that was all for this question. Let's move to the next question. Pavitra P is a comic character who features in the comic series Blank India. This comic series narrates his life as he lives with his uncle and aunt in Bombay and the way he becomes Indian version of something which fills the name of this series too. He gets his powers from a mystic yogi and uses them to crush a evil scientist. Fill the blank with the name of the comic series. The question is very simple. Pavitra P is a comic character just like we have Clark Kent. and he features in a comic series named Blank India. So basically, Blank India narrates the story of Indian version of some very popular character. He lives in Bombay with his uncle and aunt, and he receives his power from a mystic yogi and uses them to crush an evil scientist. Using this storyline that he lives with his uncle and aunt and uses them to crush the evil scientist, you can get some idea of which type of comic series this is. The more popular one is the American version of it, which is a more popular feature of this comic series, and the first one too. You can go by the initials of the name of the character too. That was a big hint. Now let's go to the next question. Number three. After his historic trip in 1984, one of the most frequent questions he was asked, owing to the nature of the trip, was, "Did you see God?" Over and over, he says he soberly explained to people that he had not seen God, although he seemed to have headed in the general direction. Who? So basically, there is a person who went on a trip in 1984, and due to the nature of the trip, he was asked a general question that had he seen God, but he explained to them very soberly that he had not seen God, but he seemed to have headed in the general direction. So for the hints, you can directly jump onto the conclusion that the date is 1984, and the nature of the trip is also very good hint. You can go by that because in 1984 there was very few trips that were in that sense. So you can go by that hint, obviously. Now let's jump to the next question. Number 4. In the 1830s, the East India Company was tired of maintaining something that went beyond their expenses, and hence they decided to scrap it off and sell it. They organized several auctions for the same, and these were won by Seth Lakshmi Chand of Mathura for 1.5 lakh rupees. A very whooping 1.5 lakh rupees, obviously, in those days, equivalent to how many crores? Just think of it. But the state faced lots of opposition from the local people. What is this thing that the British decided to scrap off? So basically, there is this thing in the 1830s. The East India Company decided to scrap it off and sell it. But yeah, when they organized the auction for it, State Lakshmi Chand of Mathura, he won it for 1.5 lakh rupees. That is a very big amount in those days. So imagine that this is not a very small thing; it is a big thing. And when the Seth arrived at the place, he faced opposition from the local people, due to which he had to drop his plan for some time, and later that plan was terminated at all. So what is this thing that the British decided to scrap off? Something that is utterly unexpected, but they are the British, they can do anything. So let's move to the next question now. Sir Blank Blank abominated gravy. He lived in the odium of having discovered sodium. This is the first ever clerihew, a type of comical poem. Which scientist's name fills in the blanks? So the question is very simple. There's a scientist whose name fills in the first stanza, first line of this clerihew. You need to tell that what is that scientist's name. You can go by the hints that the surname of that scientist has something to do with gravy, means it is a rhyming version of gravy, it rhymes with gravy, and he had kind of discovered sodium. You can also go by that. So let's move to the next question now. On December 9, 1893, a French anarchist named Auguste Valiant made a sensational attempt to avenge the execution of Ravachol, a fellow anarchist. His attempt injured several people and he was arrested and sentenced to death. Valiant defended his actions during the trial, maintaining that he merely wanted to wake up the privileged classes. He was put to death by the guillotine, and his last words were, "Death to the bourgeois, long live anarchy," whose actions brought back Valiant and his words into the limelight almost 4 decades later. The question is fairly simple again. Basically, in December 1893, a French anarchist, Auguste Valiant, did something to avenge execution of his fellow anarchist, fellow friend, Ravachol. So his attempt was kind of very violent and brutal, due to which very much people were uh, they were injured and he was arrested and sentenced to death. But the fact of the matter is that he said that he wanted to wake up the privileged the classes, so that he can make them aware of the situation that he is facing, and or the fellow people of that of France were facing. That is why he also put on the words "death to the bourgeoisie" and "long live anarchy." Now the question is that whose actions brought back Valiant and his words into limelight almost 4 decades later. So there is another person who attempted the same thing that Valiant did in a less violent way uh, about 4 decades later, that brought back his actions, his ideas, his words, in a sense that these actions, these ideas and words came into limelight again, because this the second person was inspired by Valiant. So you need to tell me the name of the second person, a very popular person to say. Next question. The Arthashastra notes that it is better for a king to have several commanders overseeing his forces. The idea was to concentrate power in the hands of the king while dividing military power among several commanders. This may have been influenced by a real life incident where a king ran into some trouble while reviewing his troops. Whose rise to power is this a reference to? Basically, Arthashastra, we know it is a treatise written by Kautilya. It describes the structure of the Mauryan Empire, obviously. The question is that the Arthashastra deals with a section in which it talks that the king must have several military commanders so that the power of the military is distributed among all of them. But we know that so that the king must have all the powers while the commanders are having negligible powers. This was the main reason that at some point of time a king have ran into trouble due to a similar kind of setup, similar kind of thing when he was reviewing his troops. Now this question is very simple: whose rise to power is this a reference to? This has something to do with a historical legend, so it is not very appropriate, but yes, this has something to do with a person who rose to power by these means. You need to tell which person. Next question, number 8. Satyajit Ray, the great Indian filmmaker, had an idea of making a film about the friendship story of a boy with someone, but his plans were not able to get fruits due to some reasons. Later, Steven Spielberg made a blockbuster film on the somewhat same subject, which led to a controversy where people argued that Steven had used Ray scripts. But Steven argued that at that time, when the Ray script were around the corners, he was just in high school. The question is that which popular blockbuster movie that was made by Steven Spielberg that spilled this controversy. So basically, a film script was prepared by Satyajit Ray, and it had somewhat a similar subject uh, to another film, a very blockbuster film by Steven Spielberg, which was made later. So some people believe that Steven Spielberg just copied the subject of Satyajit Ray's film, and it has something to do with friendship story of a boy with someone. That is a big hint. Just name the popular Hollywood film by Steven Spielberg. Next question, number 9. Emperor Napoleon was adept at using this to his advantage. So what he used to do is he used to organize a pool of brackish water between the British encampment and them, and then the French forces used to run away from there. Napoleon is quoted saying at that time that we must oppose the English with nothing but blank, which will soon devour them all. Basically, he used some natural threat to try to hurt the British so that the French were able to win very easily. Obviously, the biggest hint in this question is the statement "a pool of brackish water" and something to do with nature, something natural. So you can go with that hint. Next question to come up. Number 10. This is the cover of a book by Emma Mako Candon. It is the tale of a lone warrior who wanders the far edge of the universe called the Outer Rim. Which popular movie series universe is this book set in? So nowadays we have many movie series universe, including Marvel, including DC, including whatnot. So this particular book that was written by Ima Miko Kandon, that cover of the book, it depicts a particular lone warrior who is wandering the far edge of the universe called the Outer Rim. This character, this particular thing or book is part of a very giant movie series universe. Just name that. It's something like Marvel, it's something like DC, something like that. You can imagine it. Next question, number 11. The Paramveer Chakra is the highest wartime gallantry award of India. Its motif describes the sacrifice of someone from Hindu mythology. Who? So, as you can see in this image, the Paramveer Chakra has some motifs between the national emblem, that is the Ashok capital, and the outer rim of the medal. So, you are able to see that this motif has something to do with Hindu mythology. It depicts the sacrifice of someone from Hindu mythology. You need to name me that person whose sacrifice it depicts. Very simple and straightforward question. Question number 12. This one is good. At the peak of their reign, the kingdom under the Kushite king Taharka stretched well into this country. The last great site used by these royals was at Miro, an ancient city on the east bank of the Nile. There are nearly 170 of them here, grouped across three sites. The region of Nuri is home to some 73. All of these are rarely seen, while more lucrative tourism happens elsewhere to the north. Miro and Nuri are in Sudan. What superiority do these numbers help over? So basically, in Sudan, there is place Miro and Nuri, where they are 170 something. A particular thing is present in number 170 in Miro, and in Nuri it is 73. But then also the more lucrative tourism happens elsewhere in north. These numbers show some superiority of Sudan, of Miro and Nuri. You need to figure it out that what superiority do these numbers help over or show. Next question, number 13. If it sounds to you more like snubbing or ghosting a friend, you are right. It was a 1957 collection of work by a sociologist Carl Menem that first described it as a way to enforce power hierarchies. The inhibition of free expression can also serve as a means of something. Does the figure higher ranks can be constrained themselves to preserve a certain kind of department or dignity? This is the guardian of on the origins of which famous phrase that which later went on to become insanely popular due to a very different reason. So basically, there is a phrase, a very popular phrase that became popular nowadays in the last 2 to 3 years. The thing is that it was first described by Carl Menem in his collection of work in 1957, and he described it as a way, as a means to enforce power hierarchies so that a kind of department or dignity can be maintained or preserved by constraining the free expression, and the higher ranks can be constrained to to preserve a certain kind of department or dignity. These hints are proper to establish the fact that the phrase has something to do with department or dignity preserving. That is all I can say. Now let's move to the next question. So in this question, you just need to tell what is that phrase. Next question, number 14. In March 2020, the structure was lit up. I will show you the structure. It is the Christ the Redeemer with various flags projected on it. If it were done today, hundreds more would have to be added. What did the flag signify? This is the structure we are talking about. Yes, it is the Christ the Redeemer of Brazil. The question is fairly simple. You are able to see many flags on this structure. The question is that what does this represent? Why do these flags appear on this? So the main question is that what do these flags signify? And the hint is also given that if it were to be done today, 100 more have to be added. So these countries have something common, you can guess by that. And these flags have something to do with something. You can also note that it was done in March 2020. That is also a good hint. Next question, number 15. Identify this currently fashionable name of this Asterix character, who is also known as Testosterone in Asterix and the Carriot Race. If it helps, it's not the crown on his head. Basically, this Asterix character has very fashionable name, very means a name which is very popular nowadays, and you just need to identify that what is the name of this Asterix character. Very popular. I will not repeat it. Yeah, I can give you this hint that around 2 to 3 years we are listening this character's name only. Next question. Now we are going to start with the start questions. So buckle up. Each question carries 2 marks. This was the first. This was achieved for the first time in world cricket in December 1997 at the nondescript MIG cricket ground in Bandra in Bombay. The most common answer to this question or record would state it was achieved in Gwalior in 2010. Who were the two people involved in respectively 1997 and 2010? So basically, there is a particular record in the world cricket which was first time achieved in 1997 at a nondescript or a not known location of MIG cricket ground in Bandra in Mumbai. But the more obvious answer or the more common answer, which is the more popular answer to this question or record, would state that it was achieved in Gwalior in 2010 because the second one was more popular in the sense. So the question is very simple: who were the two people involved in both the times in 1997 and 2010? One was involved in 1997 and the other was involved in 2010, the more popular time. You can guess by that. Next question, number 17. Good one. X and Y were highly critical of Gandhi's leadership of Congress and hence they teamed up. But when X died in October 1933, he gave his 75% assets to Y. His brother, the more popular one, when saw this, he took Y to the court and decided to sue him. Being family member of X, his brother won the case and X's estates. Who is Y and the more popular brother of X? So there were two people, both were highly critical of Gandhi's leadership of the Congress, and hence they teamed up. But when X died in October 1933, he transferred the 75% of his assets to Y. But his brother, the more a very popular person, I would say, he when saw this, he took Y to the court and decided to sue him. But since X was the since that his brother was obviously a family member of X, the estates were given to his brother. The question is very simple: who is Y and the brother of X who sued Y? Listen, go by the term highly critical of Gandhi's leadership. You may arrive at the answer. Y is an extremely popular person. X's brother is also very popular. X might not be that known to you, but his brother was very popular. The question is that simple. Now, let's move to the next one. Number 18. From this picture set in the late 15th century, identify the name given to the ruler on the right. 120 of them ruled from 1300 to 1806 and all were known by the same name. Also identify the European traveler on the left. The scene of the meeting is somewhere in South India. So you can see that there is a person on the left and the right. It is a European traveler on the left, and on the right we are able to see some Indian king. So you have to identify both of them. The king has a title given to them, and that title or the name was used by 120 of them that ruled from as before as 1300 to 1806. You can identify by that, and you need to tell me the name of the European traveler too. So both of them, the European traveler and the king. Next question. Number 19. The Greeks derived this alphabet from Phoenicians. However, the Greeks wanted to make a distinction between the short and long sound of a particular letter, which is reflected in the names of the two letters themselves. Which two letters? So basically, there is a letter in Phoenicians which was derived by Greeks in their alphabet system. But the Greeks wanted to distinguish between the short and long sound of that letter. So they instead of having two different versions, they invented two different letters itself. So you need to tell me which two letters, which two Greek letters are these? Very simple question. A two marker, a start question. Next question. Question number 20. It has been converted into a museum and it displays someone's prized possessions, furments, and so on. It also has the weapons that were used in a memorable encounter, whose positions and which encounter. You can see in this image, this is a mansion in Murshidabad. If you know this mansion, you are right at the answer. But if you don't know, I will give you a hint that it is located in Murshidabad, West Bengal. Now it is a museum. Earlier it was a mansion that beholded someone somewhat very important in West Bengal in those days. Currently it displays someone's prized possessions, formants, and weapons that were used in a memorable encounter. The question is very simple. Whose possessions are these and which encounter? A very, very important encounter that changed the shape of India, I would say. That is a big hint. Let's move to the next question series. Yeah, now the start question ends, so we can go slow and move the pace. Question number 21. Although he is now remembered for his aesthetic sense, in his youth he was renowned for his battlefield abilities. In 1617, his father, the emperor, sent him to the Deccan to fight the Lodhis. He was an instant success, effectively securing the southern borders of the empire. How did his grateful father reward him in an act that effectively sealed him as the next ruler? There is a person, there is a ruler, and in 1617 his father, the emperor of that time, he sent him to the Deccan to fight the Lodhis. He was an instant success, due to which the empire's southern boundaries were effectively secured. His father gratefully rewarded him. Okay, so in a way that effectively sealed him as the next ruler. The question is very simple. I don't want the name of that person. I want how did the father rewarded him? How did his father, the emperor of that time, rewarded his son in a way that he was ultimately accepted as the next ruler, and he eventually became the next ruler. I will also give you a hint for that person that he is now remembered for his aesthetic sense. But in youth, he was also a great warrior. Okay, this is a very big hint that he is now remembered for his aesthetic sense. Next question, number 22. In 1841, the zoologist Edward Blyth took on the job of cure plants of the museum run by the Royal Asiatic Society. He was very close with another stalwart in his field and used to write long chatty letters packed with information and on subjects like Indian cattle breeds, fancy pigeons, and so on. His letter contained many interesting snippets on life in India and its culture. He once noted, for example, how the natives of Bengal exclaimed Pogla Hati when they saw this thing. What were the natives reacting to? So basically, there's a person, Edward Blyth. He was a zoologist in 1841 and he took on the job of curing plants of the museum run by the Royal Asiatic Society. He was very close to a very, very popular person of his field, and they both used to have a long chatty letters, means long conversations with between each other, talking about subjects like Indian cattle breeds, fancy pigeons, and all those stuffs. But he also shared with the other person a interesting snippet of life in India, where he told that the natives of Bengal, they exclaimed Pogla Hati when they saw something that was new to them, obviously, and they thought that it is a mad elephant. What were the natives reacting to? A very simple question, I would say. Think wisely to answer this question. We are not demanding the name of that stalwart. We just want that what were the Bengali natives reacting to by saying Poglahati, Pogla. Think wisely. Next question. Number 23. I was given a very minimal brief, and the theme was made before they even started shooting. One of the directors, Jam, made it ambiguous. He told me it's a show based in the 80s. It's on the rise and fall of someone, says the music show's director, Achint. The music, he says, was gritty, had more attitude, was edgy. In a way, it sounded like money, kind of sinister. but has a hip hop swag going on, which represents his character quite well. What theme from a 2020 series is he talking about? So basically, there was a 2020 series, very very popular, well, means it was a very good series, I would say. And that series was on the rise and fall of someone in the 80s. The music was made by the the music show director Achint, and he says that the music was very gritty. It sounded like money, and it symbolized the character of the series very, very, very well. The question is, which 2020 series? Very, very popular 2020 series. I don't want the name of the person. I want the name of the series. Which 2020 series is he talking about? Very, very popular. Something which I think everyone knows. Next question, number 24. Name the next person in this series. So you can see two images here, and basically both of them have done something great in their life, obviously, some record they made. You need to tell that who is the third person in this list. Just name that, and you will get your marks. Next question. Oh yeah, last question comes up, so buckle up everybody. Now we are coming to the end of this thing. Number 25, again on cricket. It was during India's historic cricket tour to South Africa in 1992 that X first got a taste of wildlife. The team took a break to spend 5 days at the game reserve. Over the years, the sight of him with a camera at the dressing room became a common one. These days, when he isn't busy with the IPL and he and his assistant, his son Mayas, are busy taking photos. Who is this photographer? This is a person, very, very popular person. He got a taste of wildlife when he was in South Africa for a historic cricket tour of India in 1992, and he took a break to spend 5 days at the game reserve. And sooner he became means he became more interested in this thing, and he was soon seen shooting photos and taking photos at uh, places and recording wildlife images when he's in busy with the IPL. Who is this photographer? Very popular person, I would say. You can go by the hints. Got a taste of wildlife when he went to the South African tour of India. Sorry, India tour of South Africa. So, with that, we come to the end of this quiz. Thank you. It was an awesome experience with you. Results shall be declared on the 1st of January 2022 at 5 p.m. on Jigyasa Quiz Club blog site. We will share you the link. Now you are having a 10 to 15-minute window in which we will close the link. Get your answers ready and write it on the Google Forms immediately so that you are able to submit it on time. The answers shall also be discussed 1 hour later on the YouTube channel of Jigyasa Quiz Club, that is on 12 noon today itself. Thank you and have a quizzing day.